I think it's it. I think it is done. I don't think we have to talk about Benjamin Cesco anymore. Of course, we've talked at length about the possibility of the Slovenian moving from the Bundesliga to the Premier League. For more on this, let's welcome in Ian Darke, Don Hutchison. But Rob, never ever have I been so pleased to see you. Because is that it? We don't need to talk about Cesco anymore?
Well, United fans will hope that we're going to talk about Cesco all season, because if he comes in and scores loads of goals, he's going to be the main man and he's going to be a topic of conversation for the rest of the season. But yeah, in terms of his move, this is something that's been ongoing for months, possibly even years. It's almost every transfer window we talk about Benjamin Cesco moving to the Premier League. He's been linked with almost every top club, Arsenal most recently, now United. United have got the deal done. They've agreed a fee with RB Leipzig. He's flown to Manchester tonight. He's going to do his medical tomorrow. And we expect that he's going to be presented as a new Man United player before their friendly against Fiorentina at Old Trafford on Saturday.
That's it. Good. Done. If you want to see everyone talk about Benjamin Cesco, just look at every show we've done over the last 3 weeks. What does that mean, though?
Was it not Alexander Isak?
What? No, Cesco as well.
Cesco. All right, well.
Don't interrupt the flow of us saying goodbye to the Benjamin Cesco conversation, because it then moves us on to your boys, Don, in real trouble now as to who they need to bring in to reinforce that front line. Of course, Cesco was to be the man to replace Isak. You said, get rid of Isak, bring in Nunez.
Didn't quite say that, but I think he would work at Newcastle, but unfortunately he's gone to Saudi, so I'm trying to rack my brains of the A-list number 9s out there, the realistic ones. I mean, not going to get Kane, not going to get Lewandowski. And there's talk of like Nicolas Jackson from Chelsea for 80 million, and Cesco was valued at about 75. I mean, I'd lob another 20 in and try Inter's hand for Lautaro Martinez. Quite ironically, you had a list of Ballon d'Or contenders there. Martinez was on it. I didn't see Cesco on it. I didn't see Nicolas Jackson. So why wouldn't Newcastle try and go 100 or 95 for Lautaro Martinez? They're going to need a number 9. Obviously, they lost Callum Wilson. They didn't get Ekitike. They've not got Cesco. The only hope now is, because they haven't got a number 9, Alexander Isak stays. That's probably what Newcastle fans at the minute are clinging on to. But it's a long shot, because Liverpool are not going away. But what Newcastle have got, they've got a player that's got 3 years left on his contract, and they literally can't let him go until they bring. And I think what they're saying is they want 2 strikers before they allow Isak to move on. So, as Ian said, there's a game coming round the corner in about 8 days' time, and Newcastle have got to move pretty quickly.
Why would Lautaro Martinez want to go to Newcastle, by the way? When he's at Inter, they get into Champions League finals. They didn't win the Serie A last year. Probably should have done. Why would he want to go to Newcastle? And why would Darwin Núñez all of a sudden work at Newcastle when it's been quite clear that he's struggled on in the Premier League?
Good question. Good question. I just see a player, Craig, and you guys know, when you see a player that puts on a Man United shirt, a Liverpool shirt, Real Barca, sometimes that shirt can weigh a little bit too heavy. You remember his debut, got sent off on his debut, he's emotional. But I think there's a player in there. I think when you look at the profile of player, when you think of what Firmino was for Liverpool, he was coming short, linking the play, he was getting goals for Salah, getting goals for Mane. Darwin Núñez is a different type. He's more in a profile, and I'm not comparing, obviously, but he wants balls played down the side like Erling Haaland. He's that type of player where you get him down the side as a defenders, he's rapid. Now, what he needs to learn, he needs to learn how to be calm in front of the goal, because he's too erratic. Now, at his age, I think going to somewhere like Newcastle, obviously it's not going to happen because I think he's going to Al Hilal. But if he went to Newcastle, I could see a player that Eddie Howe could develop and also be given the time. And you guys know what it's like. I've had it in my career when a manager will say to you, listen, relax. Just go and play the next 6 games, 10 games. You've got no pressure. You don't feel as though you've got to score every single game. Otherwise, you're going to be on the bench. I think if he played nearly every game for Newcastle in the Premier League, and Eddie Howe got his confidence back and got him playing again and got him chances in front of goal, there's definitely a 15 to 20 goal striker in there. I'm convinced of it. It's just not happened at Liverpool.
Jurgen Klopp couldn't get him going, and Arne Slot didn't fancy him. One of the problems here for Newcastle...
Slot couldn't wait for him, though, Craig.
One of the problems for Newcastle...
Slot couldn't wait for him. Liverpool will go...
No, he wasn't good enough.
Sorry, Greg.
He wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough for Liverpool.
No, I think...
Okay, all right. Well, he's going to Saudi Arabia.
They couldn't wait for him.
I don't care. Núñez wasn't good enough for Liverpool in the Premier League. The one thing I think one issue I see with Newcastle is actually being able to attract the players. Cesco they were prepared to pay big money for Cesco. He didn't want to go there. He wanted to go to Man United. Now, Newcastle are way ahead of Man United in terms of on the field at the moment. We know the problems of United on the field. That looks to be getting negated somewhat by the players that they have signed. Not perfect, but they certainly look as if they're going to be in a better position. They still have the ability, because of their size and because of their history, to sell the club to players. Maybe not like how they could in the glory days when Fergie would pinch a player from other clubs at the last minute, but they're still a big attraction, even though they've had major problems on the field. That's the issue for Newcastle. The issue for Newcastle is they have to pay the money and they have to attract the player. And I think we're seeing that with the Benjamin Cesco deal, because they were able, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were prepared to pay more money at the time for Benjamin Cesco, but he wanted to go to Manchester United, and that's Newcastle's problem.
Meanwhile, Rob, you take a look at what Newcastle are going to do, and it's interesting, Don mentioned Nicolas Jackson. He seems to be shipped around everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chelsea have made it quite clear that he is available. They've signed an awful lot of centre forwards this summer already. They've got Liam Delap, they've got João Pedro from Brighton. He was a little bit hit and miss last season. I think Chelsea fans, some love him, some aren't that keen. And I think, unfortunately for him, he's going to be one that has to make way for the likes of Delap and João Pedro. In terms of what Newcastle do, and I think Newcastle really are looking for players that want to join, because they've been snubbed at so many different turns this summer. The Benjamin Cesco one will hurt, because I think they thought at one point that he was going to join them. That Newcastle's tactic with that was to agree a deal first with RB Leipzig and then hope to agree with Cesco. United have gone the other way round and have tried to convince Cesco first. They've got the yes from Cesco and have then gone to RB Leipzig and said, well, your player wants to join us, you've got to negotiate with us. And that seems to have worked. So Newcastle are in a difficult position now, because the Isak situation is difficult. Obviously, they're going to want him to stay. He clearly wants to go to Liverpool. He needs to be replaced. I think Nicolas Jackson's not a bad shout, really. Don just talked there about the pressure and of playing every week and not having to score. If you're going to get benched, I think that he would quite enjoy that at Newcastle. Newcastle fans love their centre forwards. He's quite enigmatic. He's a little bit raw in the terms of how he goes about his football. But I think Newcastle fans might embrace that. And I think in terms of goals in him, I think Nicolas Jackson is a 20 goal a season player. It's just getting that out of him, and maybe Newcastle is the place for him to do that.
I don't don't get this.
Not at that price.
No.
I mean,
they're wanting 60, 70 million for Jackson. Are you telling me you can't
80.
find? You telling me you can't find somebody who's going to run all day, run the channels, smash into defenders, do all kinds of stuff, give every single thing they've got, and you're going to have to pay 70 million for it? I mean, that's madness. Nicolas Jackson cannot finish. So why does a team like Newcastle need Nicolas Jackson? It's a waste of money.
Ian, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I agree with Stevie. Nicolas Jackson's pretty erratic, but he's available at the moment. That's a pretty big thing with Newcastle. We've heard about all the rejections they've got. They must feel like jilted lovers at the moment. They really must. But there's a couple of other names. I mean, they're after Johan Wissa from Brentford. I think they need two strikers, because Callum Wilson, is injury prone, has gone to West Ham. Looks like Isak isn't going to play for them again because the bridges seem to be burned. So they need two strikers. So Wissa, I mean, another name there I would just throw in, who they might make a bid for, might be Ollie Watkins. Now, Villa don't want to sell him, but I think for 60 million or so, you've got a proven Premier League goal scorer there, and that might be an idea that crosses their mind.
Meanwhile, Rob, we've had Manchester United over the last year tell us that they haven't got any money. Boo-hoo, look at us, everything's falling apart. We've had to make all these cuts off the pitch. Yet we see them this summer bring in Cunha, bring in Wemo, and now bring in Cesco. So do they have money left to bring in, say, a Carlos Baleba, who they've been linked to? But we're talking like 80 to 100 million?
No, they haven't got the money right now, is the short answer to that. They've been able to do the Cesco deal really because of money that they perhaps didn't think that they were going to get this summer. They've managed to get Marcus Rashford out on loan to Barcelona quicker than they thought. That's a saving of around 40 million euros a year. They've been lucky with some of the sell-on clauses as well. They weren't expecting Anthony Elanga to move from Nottingham Forest to Newcastle for 55 million. That has generated another 5 or 6 million in terms of a sell-on clause. So with all the different clauses that they've managed to receive, they've generated around about sort of 21 million pounds, which has allowed them to then go and reinvest in Benjamin Cesco. But really, right now, the well is dry. You know, they've signed Cunha, they've signed Mbeumo. Cesco will be the next one. If they're going to sign anyone else, if they're going to sign a number 6 or a goalkeeper, they're going to have to start getting players out. They're going to have to get Garnacho out, Anthony, Jadon Sancho, possibly Rasmus Højlund. If they can do that and raise, you know, maybe 90 to 100 million pounds, depending on what offers they receive, then there is a possibility that they may go back in for a number 6. Belieber is one of the players that they like, although that deal at the moment, United are considering that to be quite difficult to do just because of the fee that Brighton would demand. But if they can get those players out in time before the deadline, there is a possibility that United may bring in 1 or 2 more players. But I think the bulk of their business right now has been done. Their main aim this summer was to bring goals in. It was to redevelop their attack, and they've done that with Cunha and Mbeumo and Cesco. Anything else, I think United will consider to be a bonus from here on in.
They brought in a number 6. When did they bring in Ugarte? Was it January?
Last summer, wasn't it?
Last summer?
Yeah.
60 million, something like that. Well, there's, you know what I'm saying? It's like just rushing out there, panicking, and players. What Julian Laurent said, he's a midfielder that struggles to pass the ball, right?
Which is important, I understand, being a midfielder.
My point is like they have to stop. Part of the issue for them is the wasting of the money.
Yeah.
Now having to try and get these players out to be able to spend again, which they have done pretty well in the forward department. But clearly, when you look at Ugarte and Casemiro in the middle of the park, and you know, you get Kobe Mino still there, it really needs to be strengthened because, you know, Casemiro, although he got better in the second half of the season, he's Mother Nature's telling you that he's going to struggle. And Ugarte just has struggled pretty much since he came in. So they need somebody in there. You can't keep talking about, Bruno Fernandes is going to drop deeper and play in central midfield. He may do that, but that's not natural for him. He's actually he wants to be more in the forward position. So if they haven't got any more money or they can't get anybody out last minute to be able to spend some more, this midfield area in front of this back line or back 3, whatever it is, that's going to be a real... As much as you've improved the forward department, if you haven't got the engine room sorted out to do all of the sort of donkey work and get the ball up to the forward department, then that's a problem. And that currently is a problem for Ruben Amorim.